Welcome to the podcast where we keep workplace safety as heavy as the riffs in your favorite metal songs. Broadcasting from the stunning landscapes of Vancouver and the seaside view of the West Coast of beautiful British Columbia, Canada, we've got a special guest who's here to rock your safety protocols like a head-banging mosh pit. Get ready to thrash out some serious safety tips with our health and safety pro, who's as passionate about preventing workplace hazards as she is about shredding guitar solos. Welcome to another episode of the podcast that confirms safety does indeed have a personality.
We are so pleased to have you join us because on this podcast, we get to know people on a lighter, more personal and fun level who are affiliated with safety, including mental health, leadership, coaching, authors, investigators, and in this case, an amazing safety professional. This is Safety Debris with me, Tanya Steele.
And me, Richard DeLong. Our special guest today lives in Langdon, Alberta, or for those of you not familiar with the sprawling prairie landscape of Alberta, she's directly east of Cowtown. Oh yeah, that's Calgary's nickname. The host for the greatest outdoor show on earth. Yes, the Calgary Stampede. Well, if you haven't been, you ought to go.
I've been.
She is also proud to say she's a young mom who lives to spend quality time with her very young daughter singing to her favorite songs.
Our special guest was motivated early on in her career by carefully watching and being inspired by a superintendent she admired. And despite dropping out of school by grade 9, she has been enjoying a very successful career as a consultant, a safety trainer in health and safety. She is a business owner, entrepreneur, a mom of her new 9-month-old daughter, and of course, a lover of music.
And today's episode's guest is Sarah Power.
Hello, Sarah Power.
Welcome to our show.
We're just getting worse at it. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. Well, music is a big motivator for Sarah. This song we're about to hear is a song that Sarah says she likes to listen to as she prepares to conduct worksite inspections, gets her mind in the right frame of mind. Prepare for the unexpected. Here is Demolisher by the band Slaughter to Prevail on Safety Debris. Oh my goodness. I think I just, I'm not certain, but I think that parted the hair on the other side of my scalp. That was,
I appreciate you guys' commitment to this, because that is some heavy music.
It's heavy music.
Some heavy music. It is indeed.
I think I broke my neck or something's out from doing my,
Yeah, we heard something. I heard something snap in there, but it's not music for the lighthearted, but that's okay. It's thrash heavy metal kings Slaughter to Prevail, who are actually releasing a new album in 2024. They were on tour late last year. In fact, they played in Calgary about mid-November. Did you get to see them in concert, Sarah?
No, I was
Did you know that?
very, very, very fresh with pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. Bambino was just
And mosh
recently born.
pits generally aren't the safest place for me.
Can't imagine it would be any different for your youngin' then. Yeah.
She listened to Slaughter to Prevail, my whole pregnancy. So she actually, it's lullaby music to her, as odd as that is.
That's awesome.
Well, what is it about this style of music that helps to motivate you in your line of work?
So just total honesty, I find it extremely relaxing. I know that's hard to understand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, With my line of work, I find we're in chaos. I mean, you guys know this, right?
Yeah.
You're in chaos, a lot of stress. Your brain is constantly going 10 steps ahead, I find. So this gives me that little stress release, as well as I just get to enjoy. I love the drums. I love the drums. They're just
Love the drums.
They're very driving. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my dad was a drummer, and I was just like, he would love this. Like, this is drums.
The double kicks. Oh, I tell you, like, I'll pull up to a site and I will wait. I'm sure everyone thinks I'm angry because it's so loud, but I'll wait till the song's over to go out. But I just love it. Yeah.
That's funny because, the fact that you said it kind of calms you and it's soothing, where most people get hyper on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're like, okay, I'm good. Now I can do an inspection.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely.
I do get that though, because really, like, sometimes your brain, your brain's going 100 miles an hour. Sometimes you need stuff like that just to release your brain. Like, just like, I can't even think, and it just will go whoosh. Because you're in that moment of music. I get that. That makes total sense.
Yeah, so I suppose that music can take you to one extreme, and then there's nowhere else to go but back down here. And so
yes,
so
that's actually the best analogy of it. That right there. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, stick around. This episode is we're going to find out more about what bands she loves to listen to, especially on road trips, how she managed to succeed despite dropping out of high school early. And we will also find out a little bit about what she does. She had a bit of a struggle in the classroom environment, that conventional classroom learning setting. We're going to find out what her secret is and what she did to overcome this challenge as a trainer herself.
Yeah. And really, that's one of my first questions, Sarah, I'm going to ask you, because, you know how I feel about you. I follow you on social media. I think you're extraordinary for our industry. The influence you have, you're an entrepreneur. You are very particular about your training to ensure that people learn, and to find out that you actually left school in grade 9, and you are really one of the smartest, amazing entrepreneurs I know. So can you tell us, like, you mentioned that training conventional classrooms was a challenge for you. What was the challenge you experienced? What were some of the hurdles? Just tell us a little bit about it. I want to know why you are the way you are today.
Okay, well, first of all, back at you, big fangirl. We talked about this.
What about Tanya? I mean, but do you,
Richard,
do you have any
fangirl as well.
Stop. No, stop.
Okay. So straight away, high school, I extremely struggled. I was your average. I mean, I had a 12-inch long mohawk, shaved sides,
love it.
Doc Martens. I was not your best student. I'll tell you that right now. On top of that, I'm able to take in information in one way. Give me the documents. I will take it in the way I need to. I will highlight my questions and ask the subject matter expert, or teacher in that case. Mm-hmm. And that's how I learn. I cannot learn in a class. It's frustrating for me. I find it brings out the worst in myself, to be honest with you. I get very stifled. I feel claustrophobic. It's just not how I learn. Classroom settings have wide reaches of how instructional techniques work. Mm-hmm. And so you're really trying to teach 30, let's say, people with the same technique. And we all know as professionals that's just, you're not going to get the retention out of that, nor the comprehension from half your students.
Yeah. And the time, the teacher doesn't have time to monitor 30 students. And in some cases is why we try to have even safety classes of 12 or less. So we have individual time. And with 30, you just can't. People get lost in it. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So for me, it was, and I got great grades. Like, I'll be totally honest, I was a solid A+, A.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I would not show up to class. I would take my textbooks at the beginning of the year and not show up and just come for exams, hand in projects, however it may be.
Interesting.
But I could not be in that setting. So my NCSO was the exact same. This was 13, 14 years ago, but the Alberta Construction Safety Association was probably not my biggest fan back then. I just wasn't a great student. I was a horrible student. And I had fabulous instructors. It wasn't them. It was just the way that I take in information. So that, and then other
But I'm just going to interrupt you, Sarah, just because I don't know if you were a horrible student because you're freaking smart. You got A's. So it wasn't that you were a horrible student. It was just that it wasn't designed for you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like, it's the same with any other training that I've done since. I actually always request to just take the material and go. And I always pre-warn instructors, like, I'm going to zone out. I'm going to look like I'm not learning, but I promise you I will learn tonight when I have it on my own. You know, so that was my struggle in grade 9. My family moved from Surrey, Vancouver area to Kamloops to try and tame our life. We'll say I have a 8-year age difference between me and my sister. So you can imagine the blonde little blue-eyed girl and then this mohawked teenager. And they're like, we need to get out of here. We need to go somewhere rural.
So we need to find a new hairdresser for her. That's what we're doing.
Exactly. So yeah, we went to Kamloops and I attempted to go back to school. And I was like, I stand out like a sore thumb here, but it's definitely not going to, it just didn't work. So I did online a bit. And then I just said, no, I want to go to work. I like to work. I want to make money. And that's how it all started.
And here you are. It's incredible. What an incredible story. And I love that, the person who's listening right now is like, I wasn't a great student either, but look what I can do when stuff is designed in the way that I need to receive that information. I wasn't a great student either. I literally had a teacher tell me in grade 10, and I think I've shared this before, that I was grade 11, that I was illiterate. And that stuck with me for so long. And, which really people are like, Ted, you need to write a book. You need to do these things. I'm like, no, I can't. And now I have, and, you break through those walls, but you can be successful. And you're a perfect example of it. Like, I truly honor you. Like, seriously, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I relate to your story as well, Sarah, in that, when I was in school, I'll say I struggled a little bit. I wasn't, I wasn't one that was failing. I had a few A's, but probably in the B areas where I was mostly C plus.
C plus. Me, Mom. Come on, let's cheer for the C plus group.
I got 71 today on my math grade. So what a great day that was. So, but I too felt that I wasn't getting it from the instructor as I was hoping to. I wasn't absorbing it as easily as some of the other kids were. And I'm a trainer as well. And when I always promised myself that when I became a trainer, I would teach the way I thought I was hoping to be taught. And I really approach that, and it just how I kind of relate to the students, how I get the information across to them, and I ensure that they understand, trying to get that confirmation from them, and just find ways to make them feel comfortable if they do have a question, that they're going to ask it, that they're not going to go home wondering, I never got that, and boy, I'm just so dumb, and I didn't want that to happen to them. So I relate to what your story is a little bit. And
I like that you look at like the different, it's exactly kind of how I approach it now as a trainer. I look at my students, let's just say. And if I'm internally embedded within a company and I have a prior relationship with these students, I actually take them in groups. So I learn who is the physical learners, the visual, physical, hands-on, right? And then I learn who's the me's. And then I learn who is the classroom excellers. And I split them up. I'll do 3 different courses. Or I'll start the course out and I'll put them in different sections and get them going on different tasks. And by end of class, I find the consistency on the grading, like let's say the quiz that you put out, there's very consistent marks across the board, just different ways that I've taught it.
It's interesting. So basically you're saying in the classroom, you as a trainer, which I think most trainers should do, is to really build a little bit of relationships and rapport to figure out who's doing what. And then although you have the same outcome, you design it differently for each group in the best way that they can facilitate learning. And at the end, even though they've got there differently, they all got there.
Yeah, and here's my trade secret of why I was like super successful when I first started doing training is I send out a little questionnaire. So to my clients that want to bring me onto their company for training, I'll send the students directly a questionnaire. Tell me your best training course. How was it taught? Tell me how you like to learn. What is your role? Are you hands-on or are you office-based? So just like a couple key questions. There's a couple more, but it really gives you insight as to how that person excels taking in information. And also at that point, I get my numbers. So I know I've got 3 people I'm going to be doing hands-on stuff with. I've got 4 people that are just going to need that video / PowerPoint with my help. And then the send the documentation ahead of time, people.
That's awesome. She just shared her secret. Are you listening? I'm making notes. I don't know, Richard. I'm making notes.
Yes, I've made a mental note. I love that because you do have that precursor to who's coming into the class, and then you can prepare for them and
Freaking
put them at
brilliant.
ease as soon as they walk through the threshold, right? So awesome. Well, it's time to listen to another song hand-selected from Sarah. This next one is from a band that was formed in England in 1978. They're soaked in punk rock and called themselves Grievous Bodily Harm. They're better known as GBH. Here they are now on Safety Debris with a song called Sick Boy. Nice big finish by GBH, song called Sick Boy, and it's right here on Safety Debris. So as you can very well tell, the musical taste of Sarah is raw and thrives on little double bass drums and thrashing guitar solos and some very heavy vocals. It's fun to hear. I don't often listen to thrash metal. In fact, I don't listen to thrash metal. I do have an appreciation for some metal bands, but thrash metal is a little bit different because it's a little bit more fast-paced.
Yeah.
And but it can be fun, and Sarah absolutely loves it. And so, Sarah, I noticed you got some tats on the forearms there. Awesome.
Lots.
Oh, walking. Hey, look at that.
And I know sometimes people say, "Oh, the one on your." I love the one on your face. I think it just is so classic.
Very cool. It's very
classy. It's
nice touch.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful touch. It's got personality.
You're the first person to call it classic.
I think it's classy. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's I loved it. I got it, I'm gonna say 4 years ago, and it was funny because everyone commented job stopper. I said, well, it's a good thing I own my own company then, because can't fire myself.
There you go. Yeah, we're not allowing these tattoos in our office, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
HR is very upset with you.
Yeah. So heavy metal music is a first love of yours, but it has been somewhat replaced, I guess, by a new little person. What, you have a 10-month-old daughter?
10-month-old now. Her name is Kennedy.
Nice.
Light of my life. I personally had to do IVF to have her. Oh. And so took 5 years and 2 losses before her.
Yeah, that's a process and expensive and hard on your body. And I'm sorry about the losses. That really puts some mental stress on the family.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I share a lot, as you guys know, on my social media for my job and my company, but I also shared on my personal social media a lot for the IVF because I felt like mental health wise, we really don't share enough of those raw moments or raw processes in our life. And for me and my husband, it was brutal. And we only saw the pretty shared. You only see like the good stuff, the successful
Sure.
times, right? So we shared, I mean, I shared everything. So I thought it was helpful. And I actually shared a lot with people I worked with, so they knew where my head was at as well, which
Yeah.
I think is so important.
Mhm. Agreed. And I'm really proud of you because really we have a society that's we just don't talk about that stuff.
Mhm.
But let's bring it out into the open. Like let's talk about these struggles, and we're encouraged even in construction. I know that you did mine, you do tons of different industries, but you know the number one suicide, 26% of people commit suicide are constructions, mostly men in this particular case, and we're encouraging them to just tell us how you feel, like just say the raw stuff, and us women have to step into that as well, because sometimes people say, well, yeah, we can have conversations because we're a little bit more relational, but we don't share stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so and we need to, because it's real life and it's traumatizing. And I just honor you for doing that, because that's tough. Go, but congratulations.
Ah, thank
Yeah,
you.
excellent. So,
Hey.
so Sarah, obviously you opened up your own consulting company, and there was a good reason for it. You mentioned that you wanted to help more companies, and what was it that made you realize, I think I've got something I can do, and something I have that these companies need. They just don't know yet. So, tell us a little bit about what propelled you into the consulting world.
Yeah. So, from my start, I was very judged. I mean, judged off first looks constantly, right?
Right.
And that's something I experienced all throughout my childhood, teenage years, and young adulthood. And then with my husband, who I've been with for 17 years now, he actually had a workplace incident, and yeah, was off for some time. And during that, he was not the management of his return to work modified, and just where he was at with his claim was so poor, and I watched his mental health decline. And for me, it was heartbreaking being the spouse of that, as well, going through trying to find my way in life at the same time as supporting someone who was going through a crisis, full-blown crisis.
Right.
So I went and I researched. I got a psychologist and a therapist booked, and I just wrapped my head around how to better support him, in which just lit a fuse in me a bit. And then that's when I started working at the mine, and I noticed the awesome female site safety superintendent, and I was like, she is badass.
Love
I
it.
like her.
Awesome.
And I followed her around like a puppy. I will not lie. I was like, I want to know everything you do.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I just seen those two worlds separated at the time. This was 13, 14 years ago. So the separation of safety and mental health was quite drastic, and yet they're so intertwined. And it just lit a fire in me that that was going to be my focus. I'm going to help companies not only get their compliance that they all want and their certifications they all want, but I want their staff to think of me as, hey, I can go talk to her about anything. And yeah, and I'm very proud to say that every company and client I have allows me to kind of work the mental health aspect of it, some more than others. And I've got quite a roster of, my phone goes off constantly. And I appreciate it, of just, hey, I need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. My wife believes things happen for a reason, and she has this expression that she uses, and I love it. And I heard her say it when we first met. And what is for you will not go by you. So if it's intended for you, it will be a part of your life. And listening to you tell your story there, having this female role model was an yeah.
badass female role model,
Oh,
Richard.
yeah, but she was an inspiration to you, and I want to say that that's what it's all about these days. We're hearing about inclusivity and seeing people that we can recognize and relate to, that because we're similar to them in so many ways, and it happens in all facets of life. So I think, just how different would Sarah's life be had that superintendent been a male? But you
Very.
see, and so this takes me back to that expression, what is for you will not go by you. And that woman was in your life for a good reason. And
Absolutely.
it's that inspiration. And then you know, uh, jumped off from that ledge there, and went on your own. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love
Richard, you got a smart wife. Just
Yeah,
saying.
she's brilliant. Absolutely.
She's
She's beautiful.
brilliant.
She's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Thank
all
you.
of those things.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Sarah, what I love, you've found this person and you just stood under them, like stood beside them, walked it, listened, threw yourself into it. And because somebody mentored you, I know that you are a big believer of mentoring others. It's your true heart to the core of who you are. And so if you had an opportunity right now to speak to our listener who's out there and maybe they're wanting to start their own business, or maybe they're getting new into safety, or maybe they're kind of freaking out about something, what would you tell them? What is sort of a secret success, or what would you tell them to do?
I love this question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually had like a bunch of people contact me over the past 6 months, particularly requesting to be mentored. And what I found interesting, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard this, but I'm going to use tattoo apprenticeships because clearly that's part of my life as well. Tattoo apprenticeships are heavily sometimes intimidating, and there's like a hazing, and there's old school mentality. It's a very odd way to go about learning and teaching. Yeah. So I actually found, talking to some people that were getting their feet wet into safety, that they experienced the same thing with some of the safety professionals they were reaching out to try and mentor or work under in companies. And they were experiencing this, well, I know it all, and you're going to listen to me and just don't ask questions, just do as I do.
Really? In 2024?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm total opposite. I really love to ask questions of my mentoree. Like, with me, I have that are just safety professionals that reach out, we talk back and forth, and it's open door. So you have a question, let's call, let's chat. Anyone getting into this, to get back to like your question, anyone getting into this, reach out to people that you admire. Reach out to people that you see where their career, their life, their wherever they're at, and you think, wow, that's cool, or that's where I want to be. It never hurts to open a line of communication. If anything, you're going to get a little advice, or you may actually get a mentorship opportunity. And I mean, if the worst case scenario, they're a jerk, then you just block them.
Move on.
It's gone.
Can we really call them? Sorry, go ahead.
No, just talk, just communicate. That was what I was going to end it with.
Oh, I was going to say, so can we really call those people mentors when they are acting in that way? I mean, that's not the true,
definition of it.
No, not at all. It's
but I do like that we just need to ask. Like, don't be scared to ask.
Of course.
For help. And if somebody's a twit or a jerk or an ass, I can say ass on this podcast with you, Sarah.
Fuck, you can say anything you want, can you? We're on the internet, bitches.
Yeah, it's free reign here.
That's right.
Honestly, I just feel like it's interesting. I don't know if some safety professionals, I have to be very careful how I word this. Some safety professionals really think what they're doing is like proprietary. And like, but when really, if you really are passionate about safety, like, you're not wanting to hold one company at this huge high standard and everyone else is down here hurting people.
Yeah.
Like, it should be shared. We should all be sharing. We should all be working together, in my eyes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. All you need to do is get the credit for maybe the idea or the concept, and you should be satisfied with that and say, hey, this was my idea, and look at it. We're all using it now. Like, that's the glory of that, right?
Yeah, sharing. And it really is it's that time of that. Like, people who hold stuff close to the chest generally don't grow as much and aren't necessarily well liked in our small industry, but people who share, this is all about sharing. They're the people that will grow and be recognized and be beloved and literally become trailblazers and people who push the industry forward. And I always was a big believer of, don't go through everything I went through. And I know, Sarah, because you've had a tough go of it. Don't go through what I go through. I want you to stand on my shoulders and let me propel you into the future so that you can do bigger, greater things than I can do, because we want to move forward. So
Well, we have just enough time to squeeze one more song from the heavy metal chest of music
Woo!
provided by our special
Come on,
guest Sarah
Sarah.
Powers.
I'm ready. I'm
Yeah, we're
ready.
ready. Yeah, okay. Get your
Get your
throsh
horns
pitch
out.
shoes on.
Get
Yeah,
your
yeah.
horns out.
That's so awesome. Get ready to thrash your hair all about. And this, we're going to do it to Pantera, a great band out of Texas. This was called I'm Broken on Safety Debris. Well, there you have it. It's a perfect example of the type of song that you're going to hear if you get to ride shotgun with Sarah on a road trip. A little music from Pantera. They were formed way back in 1981 in Arlington, Texas, by the Abbott Brothers. And a big song for them, I'm Broken, right here on Safety Debris. You can tell the production's a little bit tighter on this band. They've got a little bit more money than some of the bands out there that it's really, it's got a bit of a nice edge, but maybe almost too smooth. But
Maybe a
that's
little
okay.
bit too smooth.
Just a little bit too smooth.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm curious. So you've done training, of course, throughout Alberta,
hang
and
on before you ask that question, Richard. I just want to just.
oh,
I'm interested because Sarah, all of your songs are like 1978, 1981. Like you weren't even born. I'm thinking you weren't
No, in
even born yet.
1989 I was born.
I was just
Um,
curious of like all these old songs.
yeah, grew up loving punk before metal, and
Uh-huh.
of
punk is like
course,
70s and just London and like
it's rite of passage.
yeah, 100%. And I tell you, anything new I struggle with. Slaughter to Prevail is probably like the newest band I like, which was the first one we heard, and like I just live for that harder, heavier metal that only really happened back
Back
After
then.
that,
It's
yeah.
true. It's true.
Well,
Awesome. All right.
what about this one?
What are you pointing
Can you
at?
see the album?
I see London Calling back there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the grandfathers of punk. Let's smash our
yeah.
guitars
Sid
up a wee bit.
Vicious was my first crush.
Yeah, there you go. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. So, sorry, I'm really curious. You've done lots of training within Alberta and maybe a little bit outside of that in other provinces. Have you ever done any training internationally or have any ambition to?
Yeah. So I have worked with a few companies that have taken me overseas. So I've
Oh, wow.
gone and done audits in facilities in South America,
Nice.
Europe, this all over the States. And then for my company currently, it's just across Canada that I'll assist companies. But yeah, training wise, I actually, when I was with one particular manufacturing company, I went to Scotland and I got to write IGC levels 1 and 2 for Bosch.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was right
That's
in
very
like
cool.
Scotland, which I even tattooed Scotland on my face during this. Or
Ah,
chin, I guess.
is that
Yeah.
on your chin? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there.
Underneath. Oh, look
Love
at
it.
that.
Very committed to learning, clearly, right? Like
Yeah.
no, but
And to,
it's I find
and
training in different countries actually extremely beneficial. Getting to know about their occupational health and safety standards, being in a room with other individuals that have such a different way that they do their role because it's a different country, very eye-opening. And actually I've taken quite a few methods I learned from some of the people in those courses back here to Canada.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say not only dedicated to learning, but also dedicated to the fine art of tattoo.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. You know what? Because I did not see that one on your chin. It's
Yeah.
very subtle. It's right,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I like that one was subtle because it was, I'll be very honest, it was after a few pints with the boys that I worked with. It was in the course. And it was a spur of the moment decision, but we did
Really,
it.
after a couple of pints, it was spare of the moment? That's so weird.
That's
I know that
awesome.
never happens.
No, I don't understand. Well, the time has come to bid adieu to our lovely guest, Sarah. It's time to wrap up our episode and say, see you in the mosh pit, Sarah. Thank you for selecting our podcast to our listeners. And I trust that you have enjoyed this episode of Safety Debris with Sarah Power of Evex Safety. Thanks for sharing your story with us, Sarah. It's nice to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
thank our listeners for joining us. Thank you for joining us. And please like and subscribe to our podcast. If you would like to hear somebody on our show, please let us know. You can email your suggestions to safetydebris@gmail.com. Until next time, I am Tanya Steele.
And I'm Richard DeLong. And remember, don't let anyone ever tell you different. Safety does indeed have a personality. A guest like Sarah Power is a living testament of that.
I mean,
As customary.
not just a living testament, like a legendary personality right here.
There you go. You heard her
That
here. That's a nice extra there, Tanya.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to get the homemade baked cookies, I guess, in the
That's
mail.
right. Tanya favorite right
Yeah.
here.
Tanya favorite. Well, as customary, we always close out our show with Canadian music, and we're going to keep with the theme of thrash heavy metal with a band called Annihilator. They're from Ottawa, and believe it or not, Tanya, they were formed back in 1984.
80s, come on. That's the best punk music ever.
There you go. And they're the highest selling Canadian metal group. They've sold over 3 million albums worldwide, so they're a big success story. Here is Annihilator with Alice in Hell on Safety Debris.